Hey everyone, so today I have a completely different style of video for you today. It's a story time. I really don't do story times. I really don't care for story times. But I asked you guys for some suggestions because as you can see I don't have makeup on, and that's because I had an allergic reaction this past weekend, so I don't want to wear any makeup, so I couldn't do any beauty related videos really, or I didn't want to do any. I didn't want to just with my face or anything like that. So I posted on Instagram asking you guys what kind of video I should do, and a lot of you wanted like something Halloween themed, and a lot of you recommended that I do a story time if I've had any paranormal experiences with ghosts and stuff like that. So I figured that's a great idea because, like I said, Halloween's around the corner. I love Halloween. It's like my favorite time of the year. So I thought, why the hell not? It's story time. If you guys don't like story time, you can click out, go watch something else. If you do like story times and you're actually a believer in spirits and stuff like that, then stick around because I have something for you. This video is everything I mention here obviously is going to be true. I'm not the type of person that makes up some dramatic, stupid story. So, I mean, the story isn't going to be like this crazy, dramatic, oh my gosh, something threw me across the room. Nothing like that. It's very real and very kind of mellow, but you know, if you want to stick around and listen to it, you can. By all means, please do. If you guys follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, you know that I'm always interested in stuff like that. I love hearing about that. I love hearing your stories, and I love kind of using my captions to, you know, put little stories on there. And I've just always been fascinated with that stuff. However, when I was younger, I never really believed it. Like, my family's gone through their fair share amount of paranormal stuff, but it was always until I actually see it, I'm not gonna believe it. Like my grandma, I don't think she'd ever lie to me. So she would always tell me her stories, especially like if you have parents or grandparents from Mexico, you know about the duendes and all that other stuff. So I'm sure you've heard the stories, and she would always tell stories about what she would see when she was younger, and that was like our thing. When we were little, we would all gather in her kitchen, like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, and she would just say everything that would happen in Mexico, like scary stuff that would happen to her parents, her grandparents, and to her. So it was, I've always grown up with like all that paranormal stuff and being interested in it. There's gonna be a couple of small things, like I said, it's kind of gonna be all over the place. So a few things. First, I want to say that one of my aunts, ghosts follow her around. She's had them in her apartment, and she currently has them at her house now. I hope she's not watching this so she doesn't get mad at me. But so this is the thing, they would follow her around. Like wherever she moved, she would always see something or have something following her. This house now, she's had a couple of things happen to her, and one of the things is things will disappear and then they'll randomly just pop up in the most random places. What I'm getting at is we're Catholic, and I mean, I don't follow like religious rules and stuff. I know like what's right from wrong, and I believe in God. I consider myself Catholic because that's how I was raised. But so my grandma is just very, you know, she prays every night, and so when stuff like this would happen to my aunt, she would always go to her house and bless the house. She'd get holy water and bless the house. Side note, my grandma does have holy water. She keeps holy water with her, and what she would do, if you're Mexican, I'm not sure if this only applies for Mexicans. When me and my sister were little and we would behave bad, my grandma would then say, El chamuco, which is the devil, is inside you. And I'd be like, no, he's not, no, he's not. And she would always grab the holy water and she'd start throwing it on my sister and me. Would be like, no, stop. It's not. She's like, oh, see, I see him. He's coming out. So we would get like freaked out, and then we'd like finally calm down. Oh my gosh, I was such a little brat. Anyway, so yeah, holy water. So she always keeps holy water with her for her evil grandchildren or for evil spirits. So she would bless the house and stuff like that. So her house, my mom, me, my sister, we lived with my grandparents ever since I was 9 months old. And then as I got older, obviously I don't remember the younger stuff, but I always remember my grandma would say, I'd overhear conversations because I was always like being a metiche, like listening to stuff and being nosy. And so I started living with my grandparents when I was 9 months old with my mom and my sister. And my mom, my sister, and me, we all shared a bedroom. And she would always say that I would always overhear her talking to my grandpa saying that she would see the guy in the black suit. So basically, she would see a guy dressed in black going towards my mom's room. And whenever she turned on the light, there was nothing there. So that was one of the things, and I'm going to get back to that in the future as I go further on. So there's that. Remember that. So fast forward to me being in junior high. I was a gymnast. I would do gymnastics. So my grandparents had this swing set in the back. And I mean, we're a Mexican family. We have a huge family. So the cousins would always like swing on the swings until we tore that thing down. The swings were already done. So basically it was just a bar left at the top. So I would practice like my routines and I'd do my flips on there. And I would be out there for hours. And one night, it was maybe around 6, it was kind of like the sun was almost down. And I was swinging. And next thing you know, it was the weirdest thing. I still don't know what it was. All of a sudden there's like this white fog, and it looked like a cheesy graphic. You know what I mean? Like when you see in the movies how it looks kind of like water floating in the air, but it's white and it's supposed to be a ghost. That's exactly how it looked. And I just stopped and I'm like hanging and I was frozen. And it was just there. Like it came from the right and it floated to right in front of me, and I just stood there just staring at it. And then I reacted. I don't know why I froze, but I just froze. And then I jumped off. I ran inside. I locked the door, and I went running to my grandma. She's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I saw something outside. I saw something outside. There was something floating. And I'm like freaking out, crying, and I'm like, "No, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to go out there." So ever since then, I would not go in that backyard. I didn't go in that backyard until maybe I was in high school. So it was a good while. I would say maybe like 2 years. I did not step foot in that backyard. So that was the first thing that happened to me. So then fast forward, my sister ended up having my nephew. My nephew was maybe about 2 or 3 years old, and my grandparents would take care of my nephew while my sister was working. I'm in my room doing, I don't even remember what I was doing, but I walk out and then I see what I thought was my nephew run into the bathroom. So just messing around, I go in there and I'm like, "Johnny," and then I pop into the restroom and I don't see him there. Identical, short little brown hair, same way dressed, the way he dresses. And I look and he's not there, and I'm like, okay, well, did he go into my grandma's room? Because my grandma's room is right across from the bathroom. So I go into the room like, "Johnny," and I'm looking, I'm like, where the hell did he go? Like, how did he run so fast? So then I go to the kitchen and I ask my grandma, "Where's Jonathan?" And she said, "Oh, Jonathan didn't come today." And I'm like, "What do you mean he didn't come today?" And she's like, "No, Clarissa didn't work today. Jonathan didn't come today." And so when she said that, I was like, what the hell did I just see? And she looked at me, she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I just saw a little boy run into the bathroom. I thought it was Jonathan." And she looks at me and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen him too." I'm like, what? Like, lady, what do you mean you've seen him too? And you don't want to tell me this? I am living here, you know, like, I was freaked out. I'm like, and I told her, "What do you mean you've seen him? Why didn't you tell me?" She's like, "Well, it's just a little boy. It's not going to do anything. He's a good spirit. It's fine. Leave him alone. If you don't pay attention to him, it's fine." I'm just like, what do you mean it's fine? Like, no, it is not fine. That thing's messing with me. It's trying to freaking freak me out. So my grandfather's there. He's just laughing. So I stay in the living room the rest of the day, and I'm like watching TV. I'm like, hell no, screw that. A couple of weeks pass by. I get over it because I'm just like, okay, you know, like I said, I'm kind of like I need a couple of times in order for me to really, really believe that those things exist. So each time something would happen, I would kind of like brush it off and say, well, it was probably something else, or, you know, I probably just imagined it. So then, after that, my uncle was in the kitchen with my grandma, and I overhear my grandma saying, "Oh, Ashley saw the little boy," and my uncle was like, "Oh, she saw it too." And I'm just like, what the hell? Has everyone seen this little boy? And I have not seen it? Why have I not heard anybody talk about it? Because my uncle had seen him too, apparently. What the hell? Why is nobody telling me this stuff? I swear they want me to get murdered. That was the very first time, like after, you know, my uncle confirmed seeing it. Later on, my cousin ended up confirming seeing the same little boy as well. I believed it. That's when it really hit me that, okay, shit, like, I guess there are spirits roaming around. I can't deny it anymore. I mean, we all saw the same thing. But aside from that, the final thing that just set me completely off was I would be sleeping at night, and this one I still like have an excuse for, because it's very common apparently, because I googled it. I would be sleeping and then I would feel like someone was watching me. There'd be times where I didn't want to wake up because I didn't want to see if someone was watching me, but I'd look very slowly and I would see someone dressed in black, just like my grandma had explained a long time ago when I was little. And she would always say it was coming into my mom's room, which was the room that I was at now. So I would see that, and then I just close my eyes and act like I didn't see it and just fall asleep, which is crazy thinking about it, because I don't understand how I would even go back to sleep. But that would happen often, almost every day. So I was like, okay, you know what, I like researching what certain dreams mean and stuff like that. So I researched that, and apparently that happens to a lot of people, and they call them shadow people. It's just a term that they give them, but I think it's just something that people just see when they wake up and they see the shadow. But the thing that I can't explain is when my grandmother would see it physically going into the room. So I'm kind of torn in between believing, you know, it's shadow people, or, you know, your mind creating it. But then when I moved out, it never happened again. I've never seen that same figure when I wake up. I've never seen any figure when I wake up. So that's the only thing that kind of has me freaked out at the same time. Or whenever I go back to my grandma's house and I go into that room, it just gives me like a creepy feeling being in there. So anyway, the last thing that was really, really freaky that happened before I moved out was I had come back from seeing Jay, and I was going to bed. So Jay and I have been together for almost 9 years now, so it's a long time ago. And it was like way before we moved in together. I had turned on the TV and I was watching it, and I was on the phone with him, and we were saying goodnight or whatever, and all of a sudden I hear loud banging, and it wasn't like banging from the outside, it was banging on my walls. So it went from the right, and it was just loud thumping across, and it was going in a circle. So it went from the right to the back, and then it went on the back of my on the back of my bed. There was like pull out drawers from the side, so I could have like decor on the back of me. There was like a shelf, and it was a unit that I had from IKEA. So the pounding went on to that thing, and then it went straight down to the floor. There's no explaining that. How does it go from the wall around down to the back of my thing and down to the floor? And it went out into the hallway. Nothing there, and it sounded like someone was pounding, and then once it hit the floor, someone was running. I yelled, I got up, and I freaking ran to the living room. My cousin was actually there. She had fallen asleep on the couch. She was watching TV, and she had fallen asleep on the couch, and I woke her up, and I'm like, Angelica, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? She's like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, something was banging on my wall, and it went down to the floor, and it went into the hallway. And she's like, no, I didn't hear anything. And at that moment, I hear footsteps, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It ended up being my grandpa. It ended up being my grandpa coming out, walking out, and he said, what was that? And I looked at him and I asked him, you heard that? He said, yeah, what was that? And I said, I don't know. It came from my room and it went into the hallway. And he says, it sounded like someone was running. I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. I was like, what the hell? So I was freaking out because this was happening around me. And it wasn't that I didn't even see anything. It was the fact that I heard something. I ended up sleeping in the living room. My cousin was sleeping there too, and I ended up sleeping there with her because I was too afraid. And for months after that, I slept with the light on and I slept with the TV on because I would not shut off that damn light. It was just the creepiest thing ever. Because other things, yeah, you know, you can explain like mistaking something else for seeing like something run across, or your eyes play tricks on you and stuff like that, but when you hear something pounding around and then your grandfather comes out and says that he heard it too, there's something wrong there. It took me a long time to finally sleep without the TV. It took a long time. I would say maybe a year. And even at that point, like Jay would stay on the phone with me and we'd fall asleep on the phone because I was so scared. My aunt, who I was telling you about in the beginning of the story, that happens a lot at her house, and they often hear, or they used to hear, loud banging on the wall. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I don't know who the little boy is. I didn't research it or anything, but I do know that back in the day, gangs were really big in our neighborhood. So someone was shot in front of my grandmother's house, and he did die on our doorstep. So I don't know if maybe it was him or someone else. You never know. I know some people have some crazy paranormal experiences, but mine isn't that crazy. It's just your typical seeing a spirit and it kind of startling you. Ugh. I just think about like if they were looking at me and watching me sleep and what they were thinking, like, ugh, it just creeps me out. I don't know. It's just weird to think about that, but it's really creepy. But seriously, I want to hear your paranormal experiences down below. And if you have the guts, read the comments like at 2 in the morning. That's my favorite thing to do. And whenever I post, I'll usually post something up every year close to Halloween, and it'll be right at night. So everyone's like posting their stories and everything that's happened, and it's like 12 at midnight and people are getting freaked out in the comments like, why am I reading this right now? Now I can't go to sleep. So I just love doing that. I think it's fun. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, well then you didn't. That's too bad. But I will see you all next week. Love you guys.